All right. Hello, everybody.
One, two.
Toys for Bob. The people that in recent
Hello, everybody.
years.
One, two.
Oops. Let me get rid of that echo. Sorry. The people that in recent years, Toys for Bob, that have developed Crash Bandicoot and Spyro for Activision for pretty while and made like remasters and remakes for them, they are now going independent. And I think this is a very interesting thing because Microsoft just bought Activision and Blizzard and King, including the Crash Bandicoot and Spyro IP, for like $7 billion. And not even a year within closing that, the studio that mainly develops those games is now leaving. So I think that's an interesting thing to kind of talk about with what that means for Xbox Game Pass, what that means for the Toys for Bob, like the developers themselves, for the Crash Bandicoot and Spyro IP. Because, fun fact, that was kind of the thing I was the most excited about when it comes to the Activision Blizzard acquisition. I was looking forward to it the most because it meant, oh my goodness, it might mean Toys for Bob just can work on whatever they want now, especially their platformers, which Xbox really needs. And they just can make Spyro and Crash games, and I get to play those day one in Game Pass. So that's why, to me, it's a pretty big deal. But if you don't know what the situation is, then I'll just basically recap it for you here, where, shout out, by the way, to if you're watching, we're going to be doing this live, having a little conversation about it. I'd love to see your thoughts as they come in. But this is on the Toys for Bob blog, the official Toys for Bob blog. And it says, we're thrilled to announce that Toys for Bob is spinning off as an independent game development studio. Over the years, we've inspired love, joy, and laughter for the inner child in all gamers. We pioneered new IP. What is a new IP? I want to check that out. We're going to check that. We're going to check out some things here in the stream too. We pioneered new IP and hardware technologies in Skylanders. Okay. We raised the bar for best-in-class remasters in Spyro Reunited Trilogy. Yep. And we've taken Crash Bandicoot to innovative, critically acclaimed new heights. Also true. With the same enthusiasm and passion, we believe that now is the time to take the studio and our future games to the next level. This opportunity allows us to return to our roots of being a small and nimble studio. To make this news even more exciting, we're exploring a possible, remember that word for later, possible partnership between our new studio and Microsoft. Remember that. And while we're in the early days of developing our next new title, and a ways away from making any announcements, our team is excited to develop new stories, new characters, and new gameplay experiences. Our friends at Activision and Microsoft have been extremely supportive of our new direction, and we're confident that we will continue to work closely as part of our future. So, keep your horns on, Spyro tease, and your eyes out for more news. Thank you to our community of players for always supporting us through our journey. We can't wait to share updates on our new adventures as an indie studio. Talk to you soon. There's a lot of nuggets in that. And I'm currently running this poll that's asking you, do you think this is good news or bad news? And so far, we only have 7 votes, but people are leaning to not sure currently. And it just depends on your outlook. So I was saying for me, I think the thing that I was really looking forward to for Toys for Bob's future is that as a Game Pass subscriber, I get to play all their games going forward day and date with Game Pass. And that is especially how I'm going to be able to easily, it wasn't the only way I could, but it was the way we could easily get to know that studio's works. So this news as a Game Pass subscriber is a bit concerning. This news as a Toys for Bob fan is awesome because in this day and age that so many big companies, something like EA, that just happened this week, PlayStation, that just happened this week, where they're laying off hundreds of people. And then previous weeks, Microsoft themselves laying off like 1,900 people. Maybe that's why Toys for Bob did this, where it's like, if we're going to lay people off, we want to be the ones doing it. We don't want to be told we're the ones doing it. And they get to make whatever the hell they want because they're an independent studio. So I think that's great for them. But the big question that I'm hoping we get some people in here to like back and forth on this question, and let me know, by the way, if you could hear me well, if you're here live, is if Phil Spencer and Matt Booty and whoever the hell else really helps their game studios be doing whatever the hell they want to do, why did Toys for Bob leave? That's what I'm especially wanting to debate about. If that is the move where we see people like Obsidian say, hey, we would have never made Pentiment if it wasn't for Xbox Game Pass. Like, the only reason we actually put out Pentiment is because Game Pass exists. And that was a little small passion project we wanted to do. We would have never done that if it wasn't for Game Pass. When you see stuff like that, when you see Double Fine, a studio that has been like such a huge stand for independent studios, join Microsoft to basically be like, yeah, we just want to make the games we want to make and not have to worry about money anymore. That's why they joined. And those are two teams that were very strongly independent. They weren't really owned by anybody for basically their entire lifetime, but they joined Microsoft to have that backing and that freedom to make whatever they want to make. So I'm really curious what you think, and I see Portal Player's got some ideas. If those two examples I just said, why is it that Toys for Bob is leaving? That is a question I think is very interesting to dive into. Porter Player saying maybe they're expecting to be shut down. They already let go of 40 to 50% of staff. True. I should find the story, but let me actually see if I can get it. Layoffs. Because, yeah, there was a report. Not a report. It was actually just straight up confirmed. Let's see. I don't see the layoff thing. Man, I'm trying to find the layoff story. But yeah, that is a thing. Like, Toys for Bob did just lose a lot of staff. I don't know if this is what we want to look at, but there was something that was like, you literally, because that's true. Like, Toys for Bob lost a lot of staff recently. Here we go. Toys for Bob offices reportedly set to close. Because, yeah, Toys for Bob had this big airplane hangar sort of a thing as a base of operations. And so they're closing it. Not only do they lose a lot of staff, but they're closing it. This is perfect. Okay, so this is what happened to them, like, I think a couple weeks ago when Microsoft laid off like 1,900 people in the gaming division. The offices for Toys for Bob, aka the people in charge of Spyro Reignited Trilogy and Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, are reportedly set to close. Just their obviously we know now they're fine, they're going independent, but I think they're talking specifically about the physical studio. Go away. But yeah, they're closing their physical studio following significant layoffs at the studio impacting 86 employees, which is something to note because right now they're around 80 employees. So they literally lost like around half of their total staff. So keep that in mind. The news arrives courtesy of San Francisco Chronicle, which reported on significant changes at the studio and several others under the Activision Blizzard banner. Again, this is part of the 1,900 jobs, and around 900 of the staff was part of Activision Blizzard, which we know now, like 86 of them were at Toys for Bob, which is already kind of a modest studio. And so maybe that's part of it, like Portal mentioned. Maybe that's part of it. And when that happened, I would love to know the behind the scenes, because that was a decision Microsoft made. And they said in that 1900 layoffs, there were some redundancies. And it was after also they did their kind of world tour, if you will, visiting all these studios, asking them, hey, what do you want to work on? Like, now that we got you, we got you, man. Like we want to support you. What do you want to work on? This was after that. And I'm wondering if all the people they laid off at Toys for Bob were all of their support staff for Call of Duty, like primarily. Because if you don't know, Activision Studios are essentially like all about Call of Duty. It's the way they make so many games every single year. Like, they make so many games for Call of Duty all the time. And that's because they have so many studios under their belt. And I think I have like an image I could put up on screen here. Never mind, that's tiny. But I think like the 8 studios that are under Activision, those are teams that are making Call of Duty games all the time. And Toys for Bob was one of them. So maybe they got rid of that half of the studio, and then the studio, when they met with Microsoft, or aka Phil Spencer, Matt Booty, and Sarah Bond, they're like, hey, all these people, they're doing Call of Duty. And honestly, we don't want to do that anymore. And we don't want to be told to do that anymore. And we know that you guys like to let the divisions run on their own, but I'm telling you, if we stay, Activision's going to make us do that. Well, that's our choice, though. No, I'm telling you, they're going to make us do that. So maybe that was part of it. Maybe it was like, let us leave, and we'll do kind of a Bungie deal where Bungie, that's how they left. They're like, hey, Microsoft's like, we'll let you leave if you make 2 more Halo games for us as we transition to our new team. Maybe that's what Toys for Bob is doing. Like, hey, you get to leave, but we want to make a partnership, and maybe that's what the partnership they're talking about is. You have to make 2 or 3 games for us. Maybe that's what the partnership is. And I hope that's the case. I hope that's the case. And it's games that they genuinely want to make. I don't know. What do you guys think? That's one theory, but... Paragon, I just got here. Why are they separating? We don't know. Paragon, that's the exact question I'm proposing. We don't know. Like, I really wonder. And it comes so shortly after they already got a bunch of studios leave. They already got a bunch of staff leaving. So I really wonder, like, what took place at that meeting? Portal player, going indie might be the way to save themselves. IDK. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was the best option, Paragon. But if that's the case, why would the remaining part separate? Like, that doesn't match. What do you mean by remaining part, Paragon? Yeah, it's a bit strange. Yeah, the whole thing is a bit strange because it's like I said, like, I could even find, there's an interview where Tim Schmoyer, the guy that's in charge of Double Fine, he's like, literally, there's a lot of people that want us to make a Banjo-Kazooie game because we're probably the answer to that amongst all the studios that Xbox owns now. But we literally told Microsoft we don't want to do that, and therefore we're not doing that. So it's like, okay, you join Microsoft, Double Fine, an indie studio, join Microsoft to get the backing and not to worry about things anymore so they can just make games. And they also, as much as they hear people's outcries, they're not going to make a Banjo-Kazooie game because they don't want to do that. So that makes me wonder, you know, like, is it because technically Toys for Bob is an Activision studio and there was like the only way to get them to be able to make whatever they want is to take them off of it? And how did that, like, I have so many questions about that. That's why I'm like kind of live streaming about this. It gives us an opportunity to speculate, express, connect. That's in my new banner. Paragon, wouldn't it be better to have kept the studio with getting more staff without the redundancies to to keep the IPs and heads that know how to make them. So, and this is a question I've seen some people ask. It even came up, plug into Patreon. If you're a patron, you get to be in our Discord and be a part of like live conversations with me. Like I'm already responding to Joey here. But yeah, Joey, proud patron for a long time. He asked the same thing. And a lot of people are curious about that. Like, wait a minute. So Microsoft just bought them. Who owns the IPs now? And Microsoft owns the IPs. You don't need to worry about that. Like, let me look up Crash Bandicoot. Because the thing is that Activision is the people that owns Crash Bandicoot. It's not like it is something that Toys for Bob even created. Crash Bandicoot has been with, and same goes for Spyro, has been with Activision for ages. Like ages. And, you know, Naughty Dog are the people that originally made Crash Bandicoot. And they're owned by PlayStation. Okay, so the original publisher was just Sony Interactive and Universal Interactive, still Sony Entertainment, so it's kind of funny how that swapped there. But let's see when this swapped over. Wrath of the Cortex, Crash of Titans, Sierra. Okay, so right about here, Crash Mind Over Mutant. And look who developed this, Radical Entertainment. That is definitely an Activision game. And then Crash Bandicoot 4, Activision. And so, like, Crash Bandicoot is not a Toys for Bob owned IP. And the same goes for Spyro. Like, Insomniac developed Spyro initially. PlayStation initially published Spyro. But Activision bought out those two IPs from Insomniac and from PlayStation and from Naughty Dog. So Activision owns Spyro and Crash Bandicoot, not Toys for Bob. And because of that, it's still incredibly possible that Toys for Bob is still going to be making those games because of this line. To make this news even more exciting, we're exploring a possible partnership between our new studio and Microsoft. Because again, Microsoft, I keep going to the wrong screen there. Microsoft are the people that now own Crash Bandicoot and Spyro because they own Activision, who own the IP. It's just a chain. And so what I'm hoping this statement means is that they're still going to be the team working on Crash and Spyro games, very much like Battletoads. Battletoads is a game that's Rare made. I'm going to put on a trailer. Battletoads is a game that Rare made. And they partnered with another studio to develop another game for it. Like, Rare owned the IP, but Microsoft owns Rare, and therefore they get to make another game because they own the IP, so they partnered with another studio to make a Battletoads game. That's what potentially can happen now with Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. So I'm hoping this partnership, and that's how they worked out the contract or whatever, I'm hoping that contract basically is like, you can leave, but I'm really like, we want you to make like another 2 or 3 Crash and Spyro games in order to do that. I it feels weird forcing them potentially, but I don't know. Let's see. And a weird thing is they said they want to work with Microsoft again. Well, yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, maybe the deal, I'm just wondering if, like, behind the scenes, like, that's why I'm saying it's like, why didn't you just stay if you really have all the creative freedom in the world? Why did you just stay if you have all the creative freedom in the world? But maybe it just, like, it seemed like the better alternative is to split off. I don't know. And to which case, why? Paragon, unless they are buying them again after this, so they are not under Activision, only under Xbox Studios. Now, that would be interesting. That would be really, it's like, look, we just bought you. We want to take you off and just make you part of Xbox Game Studios instead of under Activision. Like, what? why. Rainbolt, hello. Maybe it's a trade-off. Phil asked them about doing Crash, Spyro, Banjo, etc. game. Allegedly, they've been wanting to go indie for a while. Ooh, I like that, Rainbolt. I like that a lot. That's why I'm saying. I'm sure, like, because I don't think. Who knows? Maybe Toys for Bob wanted to leave Activision for ages now. Maybe they've wanted to go independent for a very long time, but maybe they never could until now. Maybe that's a situation. Maybe Toys for Bob got bought by Activision so many years ago, and they were never allowed to leave. They were kind of like stuck with them no matter what. Like the conditions for leaving just couldn't be fulfilled. But maybe now with Microsoft, maybe they were given this actual feasible opportunity that's very fair to them. That's like, okay, yeah, cut all the staff we hired to help support the Call of Duty games and leave the half of us that still want to work on like whatever games we want that are like just new IP or new entries to IP that we've worked on, whatever. Like, that's the part of our team that we want to stay. And if you go ahead and cut that staff, you'll be saving a bunch. But if you let us split off, then we will make another game or two for you that you want. And I'm hoping that's what the trade-off was. And it's like, maybe it's like, they didn't want to keep making Crash and Spyro games, maybe. So it's like, just like, Bungie with Halo, like they wanted to stop making Halo games or leave Microsoft. So it's like, okay, you can leave. You just got to make us 2 more Halo games. Maybe it's a very similar situation. They want to partner with Microsoft. So I wish we knew what the deal was with that. Santwake, I'm not sure what that AAA, of course they will, means. Rainbow, well, they partner a contract for work to get funding to build up their studio, do a few jobs to build them up, then go their way and do what they want. At least that's what I think at Portal Player. Well, yeah, as an indie studio, and that's what I mean, man. Like, why did they want to leave? If Obsidian and Double Fine, as 2 prime indie studios, joined up with Microsoft and was like, we just wanted to be able to make the games we want to make without having to worry about funding anymore. Why did they want to leave? It's really interesting. Paragon, it's a bit weird, though. If Hi-Fi Rush was allowed to be made, why would Xbox not allow them? Well, Hi-Fi Rush, for sure, like, just know that was in development, like, probably before even the Bethesda deal went through. Like, that was maybe a thing that, I mean, maybe, who knows? Like, I'm curious to know, like, when that maybe started development, but I don't think that was a project that Xbox greenlit. It was probably a project that they just kind of, like, let keep going, kind of a thing. But yeah, I'm in agreement. Like, it's really interesting. Portal Player, one day, maybe Jason Schreier will investigate and find out the insider information. Yeah, like, to me, and I say this as, like, yes, admittedly, I am somebody that's a fan of Xbox. I want to take that completely out of it. And I want to think that maybe it has to do with how much Xbox is really allowed to do with Activision. Even though they own them now, I have a feeling it's because Toys for Bob is technically an Activision studio. And yes, Activision is owned by Microsoft, but like, I wonder if it wasn't enough freedom to them, like, or they just wanted out, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to not be an Activision studio anymore. I don't know. Yeah, it's a pretty secretive industry, Portal Player. So my other question, as we have this poll still going on, do you think this is good or bad news overall? Let's talk about Game Pass. Because one of the coolest deals... Let me find this trailer. One of the coolest deals about Activision Blizzard joining Xbox is that all of their games, day and date, are going to be coming to Xbox Game Pass, going forward. And that's the coolest thing. Like, when you look at PS Plus, their catalog, again, I'm an Xbox fan, but I can call it as it is way bigger than Game Pass. What Game Pass's advantage is that you get to play games day one when they come out. And I was really looking forward to day one playing all of Toys for Bob's games going forward, even if they weren't Crash Bandicoot or Spyro. I was really looking forward to that. And we're still probably going to get all their games that they did do between Skylander and Crash Bandicoot 4. But, you know, it's like I really wanted, I love the idea of, to me, the biggest thing about whenever Xbox buys a studio or a publisher is getting that team's games day one on Game Pass. That is something I love because that is a way I get to know that team, to become a fan of them. And like otherwise I may never have before. I would have maybe never have gotten to know Ninja Theory whatsoever, and now I can. And that's a cool thing about Game Pass, is to get to know those studios. And just what we're about to be, before we even really got to, we're just about to like start feeling the studio's works out. And, you know, like, I don't know what we're going to get next. So that's really interesting. Hi, Kyle Fritz. Phil should have pulled the chance to Philadelphia. What? Phil should have pulled the... I don't know what that means, Paragon. Something about Phil. At the end of the day, ITFB, to be Frank Bear, I don't know, was honest in their... Toys for Bob, duh. At the end of the day, I think Toys for Bob was honest in their announcement. They just want to be a small, nimble studio. It might be as simple as that. I mean, maybe. But it's like, were they not able to do that before? Were they not able to do that, especially after this downscaling they just experienced? Did they not maybe want the added pressure? Like when Arcane released Redfall, were they kind of worried about dealing with that pressure maybe of what it means to be a first-party studio? Kyle, I think their games will still be day-and-date Game Pass releases, but all of them going forward? I don't think all of them. I think it's just whatever their next game or two is. And even then, you know, what I don't like about this, and there's got to have been some deal. There's got to have been some deal that allowed this to happen. But what I don't like is the word a possible partnership. A possible partnership. I don't like this case by case. This maybe, this whatever. It's frustrating, man. I hate that loosey-goosey language. Pearl 2, talk about Switch 2 rumors. Do you believe the 2025 release year? Oh, yeah. I totally believe that. 100%. They're going to have like an 8-year anniversary for that. Now, it makes you wonder if other studios could go indie from Xbox acquisitions. See, and that's another thing, is like, if Toys for Bob is allowed to leave, then is everybody else allowed to too? That's a whole other conversation. Paragon, knowing Bobby Kotick and the way they had all their studios on COD, probably not. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next few weeks towards an Xbox event we'll get more info. Yeah. I don't think... They've already said there's not going to be like a traditional round table for Activision Blizzard joining Xbox. They already said they're not doing that. It'd be great if they did. I think it'd be great if they did, to kind of establish things for all of us, because we still haven't seen... Like, it's crazy this happened before we even got, like... I guess on the selfish level, I kind of wish this happened after whatever their next game is. I really wish that was the case, but... Maybe it's because they just wanted to get out of COD like as soon as possible. Maybe that's the situation. Maybe this whole thing is like, hey, we're going to let you do your own thing. If you want to go. I don't know, but it's just something I wish I could see behind the scenes. Now the question, gang. This is going to be a short one. This short live stream, which, by the way, like, you can feel free to ask whatever, but also just a plug in, if you want to keep supporting the content as well as get more content, then you can be welcome to join Patreon, where Monday I'm going to be having a very casual live stream where I'll be going over some plans for the month, giving some sneak peeks, and I'll just answer whatever the hell you want. So go on over there, but for free. Twitch is this Sunday. I'm going to be playing Sifu. But yeah, link in the description of both of those. And that Patreon stream, by the way, it's at the lowest tier. That's also what gets you into the Discord. But I really ask you the question, what do you think Toys for Bob's next game is? Because in that blog post, they were talking, we have another game in the works. And while we're in the early days of developing our next new game and a ways away from making any announcements, our team is excited to develop new stories, new characters, and new gameplay experiences. So they are, I guess, pretty early on into whatever their next game is, which is a little bit of a bummer considering what was Crash Team Rumble? Who developed Crash Team Rumble? Crash Team Rumble. There we go. Toys for Bob. Oh, well, okay. If that was there. Okay. So okay. Toys for Bob's timeline. I guess let's look up Toys for Bob games. Let's look up their games. Wow, they did a lot. Star Control. They did a lot. Okay, this is probably about the time they joined up Activision, making a Madagascar and Tony Hawk. That sounds about right. So a lot of Skylanders, and then eventually they got to remake Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, made Crash Bandicoot 4 in 2020. Then, of course, the Call of Duty support team, for sure. And, of course, Call of Duty support team. So Crash Team Rumble came out last year. So I guess, okay, fine. So if Crash Bandicoot 4 was 2020, and then their next game, Crash Team Rumble, was 2023, hopefully that means that their next game will be in 2026. Maybe sooner, though, considering if half of their staff was devoted to Call of Duty. Maybe now they'll be much more focused on their next game, and I hope that they are a team that can produce the old school 2 to 3 year dev cycle. That'd be freaking sick. I'd be really excited to see that. But yeah, when do you think their next game is, and what do you think it's going to be? That's my question to you. Portal player. Oh man, early days. Dude, that could mean years away. Let's wait until 2029 for the next game. No, it'll be 2029. I mean, I don't think any later than 2027. I don't think it'll be any later than that. Not Enough Coffee. Is it similar to... What's up, Not Enough Coffee? I see that name so much here. Love you, man. Is it similar to Bungie leaving Microsoft? By the way, hope you're all doing good. Thanks for swinging by. Is it similar to Bungie leaving Microsoft? Did Toys for Bob relinquish their current IP rights to Microsoft as a deal? Well, no, there's no rights to relinquish Not Enough Coffee. They don't own the rights to Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. Activision owns those rights. Literally, Activision they bought Toys for Bob to work on Call of Duty and the Spyro Crash Bandicoot games and other, they worked on Tony Hawk and stuff. Toys for Bob was working on Activision IP. So 100%, they didn't relinquish any rights because they didn't have the rights to begin with. But if it is like Bungie, where that's what I was saying earlier, is I'm hoping this partnership they're saying, I'm really hoping it was you can leave if that's really what you want to do, but just make at least one blank and another blank. It's probably just one game, but I'm really hoping that was the deal. Because I just want to be able to play it with Game Pass. I think that's the reason why I'm such an Xbox fan, is because it's I just want Game Pass. That's all I want. I just want to be able to play games with my membership. That's the only reason I care about the acquisition stuff. Okay, so you guys think the next game, I see Kyle Fritz, it's Spyro 4. Sant Wake, Spyro 4. And Portal player, with how long games take, it could be a bazillion years away. Big AAA games, Portal player. Big AAA games. Not all games. It's not all games. Let's make that clear. Paragon says 2025 Banjo-Kazooie. If Phil would make them develop a game, that may be it. Maybe I'm just wishing for that to be the case, but you never know. I know there was a lot of rumors that they were saying, and Portal Player says, I hope it's Spyro 4 as well. There's a lot of rumors saying that Toys for Bob is working on a Spyro 4, just like they did a Crash Bandicoot 4. There was a lot of rumors about that. And that could still be the case, but I personally favor Paragon's idea. Because for some reason, nobody wants to do a Banjo game. Nobody. So it's like, come on. So maybe that was the condition. It's like, you could go, but you have to make a goddamn Banjo-Kazooie game. Portal Player, nobody cares about it. But why? Fucking why? You see a cult following for that game, and not the mainstream doesn't care about it, but there's a cult following for that freaking game. You see Paris Lily and other people, including me, just freaking praying at shrines for it. That's what's canon in my head. Paragon, you sold it to me. You can leave, but you have to make a damn Banjo game so people will stop asking us to make one. Rainbow, personally, I was hoping Toys for Bob would have given Banjo 1 and 2 the same love Spyro got. Would be cool. It would be really cool. Portal, I wish this was like back in Xbox 360 days when they made a game in 1 and 2 years. Well, some do, Portal players. Some people still do. It's what the whole, like the video I just did about PlayStation, it's like that those are the type of games that take so long now. It's the ones that have super high graphics and blah blah blah. But I think Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, I think that was developed in like under 4 years, maybe even 3. I could be very wrong about that. I'm not actually confident about that whatsoever. And there was Hi-Fi Rush. I think that was also developed in under 4 years. And it happens, you know, like it just does. But it's like the games that have like the super duper high graphics and big open world and last over like 20 hours. Those are the games that take ages. Those are the games that take ages. Sant Wake, Banjo's being made by another studio. We can hope. We can hope. So, final thoughts on this is, as the poll has 18 votes, and it's split between good and not sure for if this is good news. On a selfish level, I really hope Toys for Bob, just because like on the Game Pass front, like this is what I mean on the selfish level, is I hope Toys for Bob, in order to leave, they had to make a deal with Microsoft that's like, you have to develop this game, and again, selfishly, and this game, like 2 games with us going forward, and like we're your first client ever, and you have to make these 1 or 2 games for us, and that's how we'll let you leave. But we'll work out which of those games are with you, and obviously, you know, don't do any game you don't want to do. And they gave them that freedom to do that. So I'm hoping that's the deal. And we will get those games day and date on Game Pass. And they could be Crash, they could be Spyro, because they own those IP. And maybe it could be even Banjo-Kazooie, because nobody will work on it. But for Toys for Bob, I think this is great. I think it's awesome that they are free from Activision, that they get to do whatever they want. And hopefully, you know, if they need any partnership support, Microsoft basically makes it like, hey, like a lot of the Age of Empires games, Battletoads is a great example. As Dusk Falls, you know, like all the studios that they, Ori with Moon Studios. Hopefully it's just like that, where it's like, we'll give you great working conditions. If you ever want to work with us, we're here. And yeah, so I'm hoping that is the situation, as just on a selfish level. And that will hopefully jumpstart Toys for Bob and just be able to function as an independent team. because these days, these AAA publishers are losing hundreds of staff. And I think Toys for Bob, as an indie studio, will be able to not have to worry about those layoffs as much anymore because they shrunk down a lot and they're just going to focus on what they want to do. So I think it's great for the studio. And I'm hoping for us Game Pass people, it's great too, but we'll have to wait and see. And it looks like the poll ended on a not sure. So, yeah. Just reading the chat one more time before I skedaddle, because I want to just do this for like 30 or 40 minutes. And I hope you all have a lovely weekend. I'm going to be playing Sifu this Sunday morning on Twitch. If you don't know, I share my first time playthroughs of games on Twitch every Sunday morning. And like I said, on Patreon, we're going to have just a casual, here's plans for March, as well as answer any questions you like. And of course, you could tweet at me whenever. And I believe tomorrow I'm going to be on Game On Daily to talk about this more, as well as the EA situation and PlayStation and so on. So it's going to hopefully be a good talk. We'll see. Gaz gets very spicy and I get very level-headed is the way I'll put it. So, but yeah, I just really want to know if Xbox really lets their studios do whatever they want. Why was this decision made? I think that's the only question that I would love to hear answers for. So if you think of something good, tweet it at me, and maybe I'll even make a video response for you, like just record it with my phone. But until then, have a lovely weekend. Be geek, be rad, be awesome. And make sure you subscribe with the bell to keep having a community that we speculate, express, and connect with each other.